Hey there, quilty friend, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber, and I do not have a tutorial for you today. Instead, we're going to do a little talking about tariffs because it is a big topic that many folks in the quilting industry are buzzing about, but we need some basic information before we get started. So we're going to cover the following topics. First, I'm going to give you a little information about who I am, because some of y'all are going to have been sent this video by a friend and you don't know me, and if any of the nonsense that I'm going to say is nonsense or real words. Next, we're going to talk about tariffs and why they're not necessarily bad. Third, we're going to talk about what in the world people are so worried about. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about some of the dominoes. Now, make sure you head down to the comments so that you get the discussion that's going to be going on about this. And make sure you subscribe to this channel because I promise there will be more fun quilty tutorial information coming your way very, very soon. All right, so first, if you're new around here, who am I? I'm Carolina Moore. I'm a quilt pattern designer and notion inventor. I do import products as well as have products made here in the US. I design patterns. I have those patterns printed here in the US. I also have a business background, and that's not something that I talk about here on the YouTube channel a lot because normally I'm having fun and sewing with y'all. But my background is in marketing and advertising. I worked in marketing, advertising, and special events for years. I've worked in a quilt shop and other parts of the quilting industry for over a decade. And I went and got my MBA from UCSD in 2020 because I really wanted to understand the business of quilting, and to understand the business of quilting you need to have a good basis in business. And so I went back to school, got my MBA so that I could understand business, and it lets me have conversations like this with you. Okay, so tariffs, what are they and why are they not necessarily bad? Tariffs are a tool, right? And so I have a quintessential tool here. This, you're probably familiar, is a hammer. A hammer is neither good nor bad by being a hammer, right? It's how we use the hammer. If I use this hammer to hammer nails into my walls, it's amazing. It does a great job of that. I can hang things up. I can hang up my quilts. I love a good hammer. If someone grabs this hammer and puts holes in my walls, I'm not so much in love with the hammer because now there's damage that needs to be fixed, right? Hammer could be used to defend me, so I could use the hammer to protect myself. But if you're on the other side of this hammer and you get hurt by this hammer, you're probably not such a big fan of the hammer, right? So it's not the hammer itself that is bad. It is the way that the hammer is being used out in the world that gives us concern or joy for having the hammer. And that's really tariffs as well. Tariffs are a tool. So to talk about tariffs, we need to talk about free trade. And to talk about free trade in a quilty sense, of course, I've brought some quilty products. So on this side, I have the island of rulers. I have all kinds of rulers here that are made on this island. And over in this island, I have the island of fabric. And this island makes amazing fabric. So this is my island of fabric. I have my island of rulers and my island of fabric. Now, for the purposes of all these conversations, everything is going to cost $1. Just because $1 is a really round unit of measurement. However, none of us are going to have any illusions that rulers actually cost $1 or that bundles of fabric actually cost $1. Okay? We have this island and they're able to make beautiful fabric for $1. And we have this island and they're able to make amazing rulers for $1. They both specialize in their various products. Fabric Island makes fabric because they have the specialized labor to do it. They have the specialized materials to do it. They're able to do fabric really, really efficiently. It's what they're good at. Ruler Island is able to make rulers because they have the acrylic, they have the machines, they have the tools, they have the specialized labor. They're able to do it really well. And when they try to go make the other product, in this very simplified free trade example, they're not able to do it as efficiently because they might not have the best machines, the specialized labor, or they might have to import or get the materials from elsewhere, or maybe even the materials aren't as good. So even if Ruler Island wanted to start making fabric, maybe they could, but it might be $2 and it might not be as good, right? So when the different islands are able to specialize on the things that they're best at, They're able to produce the best quality at the best price, and free trade means that everybody gets what they need. Now, Fabric Island could start making rulers, but it would cost them $2 to make the rulers. And Ruler Island could start making fabric, but it would cost them $2 to make the fabric. So instead, Ruler Island will sell their rulers to the Fabric Island for $1 a piece, and Fabric Island will sell their fabric to Ruler Island for $1 a piece. And everybody's happy because we all have fabric and we all have rulers on both islands. It works great. This is super basic level free trade. I'm gonna add in a third island. You ready? This is Precuts Island. Precuts Island has entered the chat, and Precuts Island wants to start selling precuts to Fabric Island and to Ruler Island. And that's going to be a problem for Fabric Island because while precuts aren't exactly the same fabric that Fabric Island has, Precut Island selling 50-cent precuts into Fabric Island is going to hurt the existing Fabric Island industry. They're making great fabric. They're doing a great job of selling the fabric. But if the 50-cent fabric starts coming in, the people on Fabric Island are going to buy the cheaper stuff, and the fabric industry on Fabric Island is going to collapse. They're not going to make enough money to pay their workers, to pay the rents on the buildings, the loans on the machines, and the industry is going to crumble. So because Fabric Island depends on the sale of fabric for their whole economy, that's all they are, they're just a Fabric Island, they would put tariffs in place. They would say to Precut Island, hey, we're going to put, it might be a 50-cent tariff in place, so that way it's even. The 50-cent fabric at a 50-cent tariff. Now everything that comes across is $1, and the people on Fabric Island can choose, do we want Fabric Island fabric, do we want Precut Island fabric? Or Fabric Island might choose, you know what, we're going to put a $1 tariff on the precuts, because now precuts will be $1.50 and Fabric Island fabric will be $1. So that shouldn't hurt the economy of Fabric Island because the precuts are more expensive. Now, some people may still choose to buy the precuts because precuts are precuts and they're amazing and we love precuts. And some people will still buy the regular Fabric Island fabric. So it could still do some damage to the economy, but it won't be nearly as bad as the 50-cent fabric flooding the Fabric Island economy. And so that's an example of when a country like Fabric Island might put a tariff in place to protect their economy, to protect their existing businesses and make sure that their businesses get to stay strong and vibrant. In this case, anyone on Fabric Island is going to tell you tariffs are amazing. They helped save our economy. They helped save our fabric businesses from going under. We love tariffs. We need them. They protect us. Why would anyone say that tariffs are bad? So what are people so worried about? We're going to do another example, this time with rulers. We're going to again say that all of these rulers cost $1. This ruler is made in Japan, says it right on there. These rulers are all made in the US, says it right on there. And in this example, all of these rulers are going to be made at the same factory. So if this $1 ruler suddenly has a $1 tariff on it, so instead of costing $1, it now costs $2 for this ruler. Once it comes into the US, we have a $2 ruler, we have $1 rulers. If all the rulers do the same thing, folks are going to say, well, why am I going to buy the $2 ruler? I'm going to go buy the $1 rulers instead. That's great for the folks in the US. But for the company that's making this ruler, it's going to pose a problem. They have a business selling rulers. If they can't sell this ruler anymore, they're not going to have a business. They need to figure out what they're going to do. Many people are saying, well, they should just make it in the US. Well, if they make it in the US, they need to find a US factory to make it. And we have one factory that makes the rulers. So now this company is going to go to the factory that makes all of these rulers and say, hey, can you make this ruler as well? The factory, if they have capacity, which means if they have machines that aren't being used or employees that aren't busy, no big deal, will also take on this ruler. We can make it for $1, all set. The challenge is when there isn't enough capacity. Now the factory has to say either no, I can't do it. So now the company has no way to make their rulers in the US. Or the factory says, well, I can, but instead of having my employees work 8 hours a day, I'm going to need them to work 10 hours a day. So it's 2 hours of overtime. That overtime is going to cost more money. So I need to charge you, instead of $1 to make this ruler, I need to charge you $1.50 to make this ruler. Well, $1.50 is better than $2, so the company might say, okay, great, we'll take it, we'll do it, because otherwise we have no company at all. But the factory is only making $1 on these rulers. They're making $1.50 on these rulers. So they might raise their prices on these rulers because, hey, they have these employees who are working overtime. They have more expenses. Maybe they have more accidents. Maybe they have more losses because the employees are working overtime. Maybe they're increasing the pay of the employees because of all of this. And so now these rulers are also going to cost $1.50 instead of the $1 that they used to cost. It could be that the factory has a limited amount of materials. So when they add on this one at $1.50, they might tell the other companies, hey, I don't have enough materials for yours unless you also pay $1.50 for your products to get made. So by making this in the US, making it at an existing factory, it could mean that the products that were already being made at that factory could get more expensive. Also, if this ruler can't be made in the US at all, and this company is out of the picture, there's going to be more demand for the existing rulers. Basic economics that we learned in high school says that if demand goes up, but supply does not, then price is going to go up as well. So it could mean that all of the existing rulers also become more expensive just because they become more dear, more rare, and harder to find. So that's really the big concern that folks have with these tariffs, is it's how the dominoes are going to fall and what the different effects of this are going to be. If there's going to be 100% tariff, if something's going to suddenly cost 100% more than it did last month, where does that 100% get paid? If the ruler costs $1 to make, the entrepreneur, the person who is risking their dollars, who's taken the time to invent it, design it, and put their money on the line, they're ordering a bunch of them. I order thousands of rulers at a time to have them in stock when distributors need them, when shops need them, and I need that money to pay me back. So if I'm investing $10 in 10 rulers, I need to make sure that that $10 comes back as $20 or more. If I'm investing suddenly $15 to buy the same 10 rulers, then I need that money to come back as $30. So that price has gone up 50% right there. And if the tariff is 100% tariff, you can see prices go up 100%. Now I have an entire other video where I talk about what the price of something in the quilt shop, where those dollars go to different parts of the industry, the shop, the distributor, the designer, and so on. And I'll link that video at the end and also down in the description if you want to watch that video to understand where the dollars go. But every single part of the supply chain is important, and they all need to make their portion of the money. And that includes quilt shops. And that's one of the things that we are super worried about. There are so many quilt shops here in the US that are not making money. There are quilt shop owners who are not paying themselves a living wage, working sometimes 7 days a week in between running the quilt shops and then also doing all the back end things that need to happen at a quilt shop. The ordering, the bookkeeping, the payroll, the planning of the classes, all the things that quilt shops do. And if suddenly every single piece of inventory on their shelves costs twice as much as it used to, then that means that they have twice as many dollars tied up on those shelves. What could that mean for us as customers of these quilt shops? We might see half the stuff on the shelves, because if a quilt shop has $100,000 that they can spend on inventory and the inventory suddenly costs twice as much, they're only going to be able to show you half as much stuff, which is super unfun for us. It could mean that quilt shops finally, they give up the ghost, they close, they say, I couldn't make a profit before, there's no way that I can make a profit now. I'm gonna give it up, I'm gonna be done, and we could potentially lose more of our quilt shops. Quilt shops are the front line in quilting. They're the first place we go when we have questions. They are the place that we go to show off our makes and show them what we just made. They're the place that we ask, what fabric should I use for binding? Why is this batting bearding? What did I do wrong here? Could you help me out? I'm looking for a great baby quilt. There are so many customers that when they get bad news, when they've gone to the doctor's office and they've gotten that worst case diagnosis, that they go to their quilt shop, and that's the place that they get a hug. Quilt shops are so important to our community, And these kinds of price hikes can absolutely affect the number of quilt shops and the quality of the quilt shops that we have. Now, friends, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight, so I definitely can't tell you what's definitely going to be happening with tariffs a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now. I know this is a big topic and it's a lot of information. Feel free to rewatch this video. Feel free to share it with friends and have conversation with friends. Feel free to chat down in the comments and ask questions and answer questions and commiserate with questions with other people. But I do know that these are really uncertain times, and businesses do not thrive in uncertainty. Having a business is a risk. It means putting out dollars, expecting, hoping, planning to get that money back and getting it back in duplicates or multiples over time. And when you don't know if the money that you're going to put out there is going to come back in duplicates or multiples, you are less likely to put it out there. I can't tell you what the next steps are, but I can tell you that learning about these things is going to make you feel more empowered. Hopefully this video helped you understand a little bit about tariffs and how they work and how they could be good and how they could possibly frustrate some of our plans in the quilting industry. I would suggest that you start looking around your sewing studio and seeing where your quilting notions are made. How much of what we do in the quilting industry depends on locally sourced things versus things that are made overseas. What thread company do you use and where are they? What fabrics do you use and where are their fabrics made? What notions are you using and where are those notions made? What rulers are you buying and where are those rulers made? But the biggest challenge is that industries, they can't move quickly. They can't pivot on a dime. We can't suddenly say, well, we're going to make all of our rulers here in the US now, so let's build 2 more ruler factories. Someone has to put in the dollars to get the lease, to buy the raw materials, to buy the machines, to hire the labor, to train the labor. And someone has to decide, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to invest in this and I'm going to make this my business because I believe that if I put those dollars out into the world, they will come back to me multiple times over because of this investment that I've made in creating a ruler factory or a fabric factory or a thread factory or a needle factory or a pin factory or a notion factory or whatever it might be. And so because these kinds of things can take months or years, and the dominoes are starting to fall now, it may take a little while for the dust to settle on everything and for us to see where it shakes out. And so I really hope, above all else, that you have patience with everyone in the industry. Have patience with the designers. I have friends who are designers not in the US and they import their patterns into the US. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen with prices. They're not quite sure. Have patience with the fabric manufacturers. They don't want to raise your prices unnecessarily. They want to continue to stay in business so they can continue to sell you amazing fabrics forever and ever. But have patience with them as they're trying to figure out what's happening next. Have patience with the notion designers because we really are trying to bring you the absolute best notions at the absolute best price, and we're also trying to figure it all out right now. And most of all, friends, have so much love and patience for your quilt shops. A lot of this is happening to them, it's piling on top of them, and they're not sure. They're trying to get the answers just like all the rest of us are. So have so much love and patience for them as we all get through this together. My friends, the quilting industry is amazing and we can survive and get through anything if we just have enough love and patience as we work through and figure this out and know that it's going to be a more long-term thing and possibly not a short-term thing. All right, friends, if you have suggestions, questions, comments, discussion, there is a comment section and it is open, so feel free to leave those comments. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if it was helpful for you at all, and if you're not already subscribed, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Subscribing costs you nothing and it helps me continue to make fun tutorial videos as well as informational videos like this one. That's it for today, my friends. I will see you right here real soon and hopefully with something super fun. Bye for now.